Okay, welcome, and like always, I would like to go over the prior knowledge and Gizmo warm-up with you as you begin this. Since you're having to work from home, I'd like you to be able to get as much as you would normally in class. So today you're doing the Pulley lab, so you'll be at Explore Learning, and I will have that set up for everybody so that you can get into it. Let's just do some prior knowledge. We've been talking about the 6 types of simple machines. And one of those simple machines we have talked about is the pulley. And pulley, a variation of a wheel and axle with a belt. If we put pulleys together, we can get something called a block and tackle. So first and most obvious question here is what we have, and that is, why do you think people use pulley systems to lift heavy loads? Well, pretty simple. It's the same reason we use pretty much any simple machine, but the pulley allows us to lift the object easier by using less force. That's the main reason we do that, or the main reason that we use pulleys. So where have you seen pulleys? Pulleys can be in a variety of places. This is kind of wherever when I think about pulley systems, I think something like a crane. At a work site. Some other places I myself particular are in weight machines in a gym. Okay, so those are the 2 places there that I commonly find places where there are pulleys there. Okay, you might have some different ones that you want to write down. Think of your own. That would be even more awesome. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to move this a little bit if you don't mind. Make that a little smaller. We'll move on down to the warm-up. Okay, hopefully what you're going to need to do is go into Gizmos and pull up this Pulley Lab, and this is where we're at, and I'm just going to work through this with you. You can see here, though, here's the pulley system. Here's our measurement from 0 to 11, and it's measuring in meters. This number down here will tell you how far the rope is being pulled, so you'll need to pay attention. This is the mass that you're doing. And for it is over here that we're going to have our different types of pulley systems as you work through the gizmos. We have 1 fixed movable, 2 fixed movable, 3 fixed, 3 movable. Okay, those are the different combinations. As I said, when you get down into these multiples, we're getting into what's called a block and tackle. Okay, and we're going to start off here in the Gizmo warm-up with a fixed pulley. You have ideal pulleys and standard pulleys. Ideal pulleys, no friction. Standard pulleys, they're saying 5 newtons of friction. You can adjust the weight here from up to 100, down to 10. I believe for this first part we're at 50. How efficient you want to be, since we're at ideal pulley, that would be 100% efficient. And then standard pulleys, we can change the efficiency here, but for right now, I believe we're have it. And to see how much force that you have to apply to lift the object, that's where the spring balance is. To show how this works, you simply pull on the spring balance and you can lift the object, and you know how much force you're using. You can read that right there in this particular box. So you'll get your input force, your input distance, you get your output force, your output distance. Okay, and this is the speed or how fast you are moving the object. So that's just a quick review of what you're going to be doing. So if I go back here to my worksheet, I'm going to say here the pulley configuration in 1 fixed. As I said, we're on an ideal pulley, so 0 newtons resistance. and we have a weight of 50 newtons and an efficiency of 100%. So it's what it's already set up to be. And all you're going to do is simply lift that 50 newton thing by pulling on it. And once you do that, you got to record what is the minimum, okay, the key part here, what is the minimum force required to lift a 50 newton load with one fixed pulley. Once you do that, you're going to change to one fixed, one movable, and you're going to do exactly the same thing. What force is required to lift 50 newtons with this pulley system? Again, we want to use the minimum force. What's the minimum force used to move the 50 newton mass? And then give one of the two advantages, and I'll actually go over both of those advantages here in just a second. So let's go back here to our pulley system. And as I said, to lift this, you actually pull on this part. So we got to take this up really slowly. And I have told you in class before, you need at least the mass of the object. And what you're going to find out, if I go to 50 newtons, the object isn't moving because the weight of the object is countering my pull. If the two forces is equal, there's not going to be any motion. We talked about that way earlier when we talked about the laws of motion. So to get this to move, I go 1 newton more. Okay, 1 newton more. And I can lift that object. Okay, so I'll just hop back here over to my worksheet, plug this in, and I'm simply going to write 51 newtons. It requires slightly more than what the load is. Okay, you have to have unbalanced forces, okay, to have motion. Again, that goes back to our 3 laws of motion. Because this time we're simply going to switch to one fixed and one movable and see what happens. So I'll just click that right here as I said. Okay, now you can see here the strings. Here's my fixed pulley, here's my movable pulley. I have 50 newtons. Again, okay, by using the movable pulley, we talked in class how this should make it easier. I'm going to go up to 25, still nothing. But when I hit 26, you'll notice it starts to move. Okay, I have an input force of 26, but my output force is 52. Okay, if I look at those numbers at the bottom. So again, I can let that down. Let's go back over here. In this case, I'm no longer having to do that. I'm only having to use 26 newtons. Okay. So what is an advantage of using a pulley system? Actually, a couple things here. The one that you should have picked up on, sorry about that, didn't mean for that to happen. The one you should have just picked up on is, actually I'll type it in down here to make it easier, is it allows us to use less work, or excuse me, not less work, less force, making the task easier. Do you remember what's the purpose of a simple machine? It is to make work easier. Okay. Now, that is the case if we have 2 or more pulleys working together. In the first case, as you saw up here in the picture, we only had 1 pulley, so we had to pull with the same amount of force. Okay, but there was an advantage to doing this. If you're just going to use a single pulley system, it allows you to pull in a different direction. Okay, so it's easier to pull down on the rope than it is to try to pick up the object. So the change in the direction of the force is an advantage. Okay, so simple machines, we talked about this earlier, they can allow us to use less force. That's what we actually like simple machines for, because that makes things easier. Sometimes we don't get a mechanical advantage greater than 1. So why would you use one? Because it allows us to change the direction. Okay, your task then is to go through the Gizmo worksheet, complete the rest of the Gizmo worksheet. Make sure you answer all of the questions, and once you are complete, please do not forget to do the 5 assessment questions. You get 10 points for completing this worksheet. You get 10 points on the questions, with each question being worth 2 points. So please, again, do not forget to do your 5 assessment questions. Have a good day, and again, on our next class, I will have a daily module set up for you to work through.